let's get something straight. The most dangerous enemy you'll ever face isn't the one glaring at you across the room or throwing shade in public. It's the one smiling at you, laughing at your jokes, offering help, maybe even bringing you coffee, all while secretly wishing you were gone for good. Sounds dramatic? Maybe. But here's the brutal truth. Someone in your life right now could be plotting your downfall, and you wouldn't even suspect it until it's too late. We've been taught to watch out for open conflict, the raised voices, the angry texts, the slammed doors. But what about the quiet ones? The ones who smile sweetly, who remember your birthday, who ask just the right questions to make you feel seen? That's where the real danger hides. This video isn't about paranoia or fear-mongering. It's about survival. Today, I'm sharing 5 chilling signs that someone doesn't just hate you, they want you out of the picture. These signs are subtle, easy to miss, and by the time you notice, the damage may already be done. So, if you've ever had that uneasy gut feeling that something was off about a person in your life, trust me, you need to stick around. This might be the video that helps you see what your instincts have been warning you about all along. Let's dive in. Sign 1. The silent observer. Alright, let's jump into sign 1. And this one honestly gives me chills just thinking about it. It's called the silent observer. Now let's be clear. I'm not talking about someone who casually scrolls through your Instagram or a neighbor who waves hello every morning. I'm talking about someone who watches you intentionally. Someone who studies you, memorizes your routine, and learns your patterns so carefully that it feels less like harmless curiosity and more like military reconnaissance. Here's the thing. We've been trained to dismiss this behavior. We tell ourselves, oh, it's just coincidence, or maybe they're just interested in me. But that's where the danger lies, because these people are subtle, and subtle predators are often the most dangerous. Let me paint a picture for you. You grab your morning coffee, same place, same time, every day. One day you notice someone you kind of recognize. Maybe they're from your gym, maybe you've seen them around your neighborhood. You think nothing of it. Then you start seeing them at the grocery store, at your favorite park, or even when you're out with friends. Again, you brush it off. But weeks go by, and this person is always there. At first it feels random, but over time that randomness starts to feel intentional. And that's the moment when you need to stop dismissing your instincts. Example, Christine's story. Let me share a real-world example. Christine was a mid-level manager, super smart, independent, someone who had her life together. She broke up with her boyfriend, let's call him Mark, about 6 months earlier. They hadn't spoken since. But slowly, Christine started noticing Mark in places she never expected. At first it was the gym. Okay, no big deal. Then he showed up at her grocery store, then at the park where she walked her dog. Christine thought, well, maybe he's just having a hard time moving on. But here's where it got chilling. Christine switched gyms. She started shopping at a different grocery store. She even took a new route to work. And still, Mark appeared. No confrontations, no threats, just quiet, consistent presence. Her friends brushed it off. He's just obsessed, he'll get over it. But Christine's gut told her otherwise. And she was right. Mark wasn't trying to reconcile. He was planning, gathering information, studying her. What seemed like obsession on the surface was actually premeditation underneath. Why this is so dangerous? The reason this kind of behavior is so dangerous is because it flies under the radar. Society teaches us to watch out for loud threats, the angry ex, the hostile coworker, the jealous friend. But the silent observer, they don't come with warning labels. They come with smiles, with politeness, with a perfectly normal-looking exterior. And here's what's even scarier. The longer we ignore it, the deeper they sink in. Silent observers rely on one powerful tool, our own self-doubt. We think we're paranoid, we think we're overreacting, and that's exactly how they get closer. The Stoic perspective. Now, let's pull in some Stoic wisdom here, because the Stoics are absolute masters at navigating human nature. Epictetus, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, warned that we must never assume appearances are harmless. He said that the wise person is not just observant of others, but deeply vigilant about their own peace and safety. So what does that mean for you and me? It means that when your sense of peace is disrupted, when you notice a pattern that feels off, you don't brush it off. You investigate, you reflect, and if necessary, you take action. How to spot the silent observer today? Let's talk about how this plays out in your life right now. Maybe there's someone on social media who consistently comments, likes, and engages with every single post. Not just sometimes, but every time. They know details about your life that you never shared directly. They show up at your hangouts. They know about events you never invited them to. Or maybe at work, there's a colleague who always seems to be there. Same meetings, same lunch breaks, even on your personal time. They pop up with uncanny regularity. Now, I'm not saying you need to panic or accuse people left and right, but I am saying you need to pay attention, watch for patterns, listen to your gut. How to respond, practical steps. So, what can you actually do if you suspect someone is silently observing you? 1. Change your routine. Start small. Switch up the times and places you visit. If they keep showing up, that's no longer coincidence. 2. Guard your privacy. Tighten up your social media. Review who has access to your schedule, your location, and your personal updates. 3. Talk to someone you trust. Bring in a friend, family member, or even a professional. Share what you're noticing. Sometimes just speaking it out loud helps clarify if something's really off. 4. Document the pattern. Keep a record. Dates, times, locations, interactions. If the situation escalates, this will be crucial evidence. 5. Set boundaries. If you feel safe doing so, address it directly. I've noticed you're often around when I am. Is everything okay? Sometimes a little sunlight breaks the pattern. But if you're truly concerned, don't hesitate to involve authorities or get professional advice. Inspiration from the Stoics. The Stoics remind us that life is unpredictable, and danger often hides beneath a calm surface. But they also teach us that wisdom isn't about living in fear. It's about living with awareness. Seneca once said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." And that's exactly how you should approach these situations. Prepare yourself. Stay aware. Stay calm. And above all, trust your instincts. Closing words for sign 1. So, as we wrap up sign 1, here's what I want you to remember. The biggest threat is rarely the person yelling in your face. It's the one smiling quietly, blending into your routine, learning your life without your permission. Don't wait until you're deep in the damage zone to wake up. The Stoics believe that clear observation leads to decisive action, and decisive action can save your peace, your relationships, and sometimes even your life. Welcome back. Now we're on to sign 2, and this one cuts deep. It's called the saboteur strategy, and honestly, it's one of the most damaging and heartbreaking tactics someone can use against you. See, when someone doesn't just dislike you, but truly wants you gone, they don't always come at you head on. No, some people are way more patient, way more calculating. They go after something much more fragile, much more essential, your reputation and your relationships. They don't want just to hurt you, they want to isolate you. What is the saboteur strategy? Here's how it works. A saboteur doesn't start a fight with you directly. Instead, they start planting tiny, subtle seeds of doubt in the minds of the people around you. Your co-workers, your friends, your family, your boss. To your boss, they might casually suggest, "I heard they've been missing deadlines lately," even if you haven't. To your friends, they whisper, "They've really changed lately. Are you sure they're okay?" To your partner, they might hint, "I saw them talking to someone the other night, looked pretty cozy." They don't accuse, they imply, they don't confront. They plant suspicion, carefully, quietly, and over time. And the worst part, by the time you notice, it's often too late. Example, James' story. Let me share a real-world example. James was a rising star at his company, hardworking, well-liked, collaborative. But there was one colleague, Matt, who saw James as a threat. Matt never started a public argument. He never called James out in meetings. Instead, he played the long game. Matt would casually pull aside the boss and say, "Hey, just FYI, James has been a little distracted lately. I'm worried he's taking on too much." To the team, he'd say, "James is great, but have you noticed how much he's been slipping on deadlines?" To the HR manager, "Not sure if you've heard, but James has been showing up late more often." None of it was true, but it didn't need to be true, because once the doubt was planted, the damage was underway. Within months, James started noticing things shift. His boss was less supportive. His co-workers stopped inviting him to projects. The HR team started checking in on his attendance. James felt blindsided. He kept asking himself, "What am I doing wrong?" But the truth was, it wasn't what James was doing. It was what Matt was whispering. Why this works and why it's so dangerous. This strategy works because of how human psychology is wired. Studies in social psychology have shown that when people hear a negative suggestion about someone, even if it's later proven false, their opinion of that person still shifts. In other words, the stain sticks, even if the accusation is washed away. This is why the saboteur is so dangerous. They don't just harm your reputation, they isolate you. They cut you off from your support system so that when they finally make their biggest move, you have no one left in your corner. The Stoic perspective. Let's bring in the Stoics here because they offer some powerful wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." When facing sabotage, the obstacle, that cloud of doubt and confusion, can actually become your path forward if you handle it with clarity and discipline. The Stoics teach us, don't get swept up in the drama. Don't waste energy chasing every rumor. Anchor yourself in truth and evidence. How to spot the saboteur in your life. So, how do you know if someone is sabotaging you? Look for patterns like people around you are suddenly distant or suspicious. You're constantly defending yourself against vague accusations. Things feel like they're falling apart all at once without any clear reason. You sense someone is always near the drama but never directly involved. If you're nodding along right now, trust that feeling. How to respond? Practical steps. Here's what you can do if you suspect sabotage. 1. Stay calm and avoid overreacting. Saboteurs thrive on making you look unstable. The more emotional you become, the more they win. 2. Gather evidence. Document interactions, save emails or messages, and keep a timeline of key events. 3. Strengthen direct relationships. Go straight to your boss, your friend, your partner, and have honest, calm conversations. Share what you've noticed, not as an accusation, but as a concern. 4. Limit the saboteur's access. Watch what you share around them. Stop feeding them information they can twist. 5. Build your integrity like armor. Keep doing good work. Stay reliable and let your consistent behavior speak louder than any rumor. A personal reflection. Let me be real with you. I've been on the receiving end of sabotage before. At first, I questioned myself. Am I doing something wrong? Am I imagining this? But the moment I started writing things down, looking at the pattern and speaking directly to the people involved, the fog lifted. What I learned, and what I want to pass on to you, is this. You can't stop every whisper, but you can control your own voice. You can live with clarity, truth, and purpose. Inspiration from the Stoics. Seneca reminds us, character is revealed not in moments of comfort, but in times of challenge. This is your moment to rise above the chaos, to stay rooted in what matters, to be the person who doesn't get dragged into the mud, but who calmly, quietly, and powerfully walks forward. Closing words for sign 2. So as we wrap up sign 2, the saboteur strategy, remember this. The most dangerous attacks are often invisible. They happen in whispers, in glances, in quiet suggestions behind closed doors. But you are not powerless. Stay calm. Stay clear. Anchor yourself in evidence. And remember, when someone moves like a shadow behind the scenes, it's time to stop giving them the benefit of the doubt. Alright, welcome back. We're at sign 3. And if the first 2 signs didn't already make you rethink a few relationships, this one definitely will. Let's talk about the false friend facade. This one is tricky because it's not just about someone pretending to like you. It's about someone actively working to get close to you, to win your trust, and to gather as much personal information as possible, all while planning to use it against you. And here's the worst part. It feels good. At first, what is the false friend facade? You've probably heard the old saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Well, that's the exact playbook the false friend follows. They don't walk into your life with obvious red flags. They walk in with a warm smile, listening ears, and just the right amount of charm to make you feel special. They seem deeply invested in you, asking about your dreams, your fears, your past traumas, your daily routines. They show up when you need help, offer favors, and slowly weave themselves into your personal world. They become close to your family. They get involved in your work. They offer to help with errands or projects. But here's the chilling truth. They're not building a friendship. They're building access. Example, Sarah's story. Let me give you an example that really drives this home. Sarah had recently moved to a new city for work. She didn't know anyone. So when a coworker named Emily started inviting her to lunch, introducing her to friends and checking in on her, Sarah was grateful. At first, Emily seemed like the perfect friend. She listened to Sarah vent about work, helped her apartment hunt, even showed up with soup when Sarah was sick. But over time, things started to feel off. Emily began asking extremely personal questions. What was your worst breakup? What's your biggest insecurity? Do you have any problems with your boss? Then, little by little, Sarah started noticing that some of her private struggles were becoming public knowledge. Her coworkers would hint at things she never told them. Her boss pulled her aside to ask about issues at home. And when Sarah confronted Emily, Emily played innocent. Oh no, I would never say anything. Maybe someone overheard. That's when Sarah realized Emily wasn't just a friend. She was a data collector, someone gathering ammunition under the mask of kindness. Why this works and why it's so dangerous. What makes this tactic so effective is that it preys on our basic human need, connection. We all want to be seen. We all want to be understood. And when someone offers that, especially when we're vulnerable, it's easy to let our guard down. False friends know this. They mirror your language. They echo your emotions. They even share vulnerable stories of their own to make you feel safe opening up. But every piece of information you share becomes another weapon they can use later. The Stoic perspective. Let's turn to the Stoics here, because they understood this danger thousands of years ago. Seneca once said, "A friend is someone you trust with your soul." But he also warned that trust must be earned, not given freely to anyone who smiles and listens. The Stoics taught us to practice discernment, to balance warmth with wisdom, to offer kindness without surrendering boundaries. In short, be kind, be open, but be wise. How to spot the false friend in your life. So, how can you tell if someone's wearing the false friend mask? Here are a few signs. They rush the friendship. Suddenly you go from acquaintances to besties overnight. They probe deeply into your personal life, often without sharing much about themselves. They insert themselves into multiple areas of your life, family, work, hobbies, without a clear reason. You catch them accidentally revealing things you told them in confidence. They seem more interested in your weaknesses than your strengths. If you're nodding right now thinking of someone, don't ignore that feeling. How to respond. Practical steps. If you suspect someone is a false friend, here's what you can do. 1. Slow the relationship down. Stop oversharing. Let the friendship breathe. True friends will stick around even without constant emotional access. 2. Set clear boundaries. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your thoughts, feelings, or life details. 3. Watch what happens when you say no. False friends often reveal themselves when you set limits. Do they respect your boundaries, or do they guilt trip, pressure, or withdraw? 4. Tighten your circle. Reevaluate who gets access to your inner world. Prioritize people who have shown consistent, trustworthy behavior over time. 5. Talk to someone outside the dynamic. Sometimes an outside perspective can help you see patterns you're too close to notice. A personal reflection. Let me tell you, I've been there. I've had people in my life who came in fast and friendly, only to later use what they learned to hurt or manipulate me. And here's what I wish someone had told me back then. You can be generous without being reckless. You can be kind without handing over your peace, and you can be open-hearted without being open to harm. Inspiration from the Stoics, Epictetus taught, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. So if you realize someone in your life is a false friend, don't collapse into anger or bitterness. Instead, respond with clarity, self-respect, and smart boundaries. Learn, adjust, move forward. Closing words for sign 3. So, to wrap up sign 3, the false friend facade. Remember this. Not everyone who offers you a hand is trying to lift you up. Sometimes they're looking for a way to pull you down. Be kind, but be cautious. Be open, but be wise. And above all, protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Alright, here we are. Sign 4. And honestly, this one is often the most misunderstood. We tend to think that if someone's going to be dangerous, they'll show it right away. They'll yell, threaten, or lash out. But in reality, the most dangerous people don't start with rage. They start small, they escalate gradually, and they test how far they can go before you push back. This is what I call escalating aggression. What is escalating aggression? Escalating aggression isn't about one big dramatic moment, it's about a pattern. It begins with small, seemingly harmless behaviors. A sharp joke, a backhanded comment, a playful shove. And over time, those behaviors increase in intensity. The key here is that the person is conditioning you. They want to see how much you'll tolerate, how far they can push before you react. It's like boiling a frog. If you throw the frog into boiling water, it jumps out. But if you turn up the heat slowly, it stays until it's too late. Example, Leah's story. Let me give you a real-life example that still gives me chills. Leah was a young woman who had just moved into a new apartment complex after landing her first job out of college. She met Adam, a neighbor who at first seemed friendly but a little awkward. At first, Adam would casually offer to help carry groceries or hold the elevator door. Fine. Then he started showing up more, waiting in the hallway when Leah left for work, asking personal questions, lingering in common spaces. One day at a building cookout, Adam made an offhand joke. You know, I'd make the perfect killer. I'm great at hiding evidence. Everyone laughed. Leah laughed too, but something inside her twisted. Then things escalated. Adam started standing a little too close. He'd brush past her shoulder without apologizing. He once blocked her apartment door saying, "We need to talk." And then one night, Leah came home to find a hunting knife on her doormat. No note, no explanation, just the knife. Leah reported it. At first, people dismissed it as a prank. But Leah didn't. She installed cameras, changed her locks, and began documenting every interaction. Within weeks, she caught Adam on camera wearing gloves and trying to pick her lock at 2 a.m. He was arrested, and police later found a journal mapping Leah's movements, favorite places, and even something chilling, labeled execution window. That's the terrifying reality of escalating aggression. It almost never starts big. It starts with a joke, a nudge, an inappropriate comment, and slowly it spirals. Why this works, and why it's so dangerous. The reason escalating aggression works is because it plays with our normalization bias. our brain's tendency to accept small, gradual changes as just how things are. When someone crosses a line but does it with a laugh or a shrug, we often tell ourselves, oh, they didn't mean it. They're just edgy. I'm probably overreacting. But predators count on that. They count on you doubting your discomfort. The Stoic perspective. Here's where the Stoics offer life-saving wisdom. Seneca famously said, "He who is forewarned is forearmed." The Stoics taught that we shouldn't live in fear, but we should live in awareness. It's not about seeing danger everywhere. It's about seeing patterns clearly and responding wisely. A Stoic doesn't ignore the signs. A Stoic prepares calmly and firmly when something feels wrong. How to spot escalating aggression. So how do you recognize this pattern in your own life? Look for signs like jokes that have a violent or dark edge, increasingly personal or invasive comments, physical proximity that feels too close or intimidating, testing your reactions, for example, saying something cruel and then watching how you respond, situations where you feel consistently unsettled after interactions with this person. If you notice these patterns, take them seriously. How to respond. Practical steps. Here's what you can do if you suspect escalating aggression. 1. Trust your discomfort. Your body is often wiser than your mind. If you feel uneasy, listen. 2. Create distance. Limit interactions, change your routines, and avoid being alone with this person if possible. 3. Document everything. Keep a journal of incidents, save messages, and if things get worse, don't hesitate to report it to someone you trust or even the authorities. 4. Set firm boundaries. Don't laugh off inappropriate jokes. Call them out calmly. That's not funny. Sometimes a clear signal is enough to stop the escalation. 5. Build a support system. Talk to friends, family, neighbors, or coworkers. You're not overreacting. You're protecting yourself. A personal reflection. I want to share something personal here. There was a time in my own life when I ignored escalating aggression. A colleague made dark jokes, crossed physical boundaries, and when I voiced concern, people told me, oh, they're harmless. But over time, those jokes got sharper. The boundary pushing got bolder. Looking back, I wish I had trusted my gut sooner. Because here's the truth. Your instincts are not the enemy. They are your early warning system. Inspiration. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You can't control someone else's aggression, but you can control how you respond with awareness, with preparation, with calm, firm action. The goal is not to live in paranoia. The goal is to live with clear eyes and strong boundaries. Closing words for sign 4. So as we wrap up sign 4, escalating aggression, remember this: most danger doesn't burst through the door. It tiptoes in, joke by joke, step by step. Your job isn't to panic. Your job is to pay attention. Trust yourself. Set boundaries, and remember, as the Stoics taught, your peace is worth protecting, always. All right, here we are, the final chapter, sign 5. And let me tell you, this one, it's the most chilling of them all. We're talking about the patient predator. This isn't the person who explodes in anger. It's not the one who starts rumors or even the one who makes edgy jokes to test your limits. No, this is the person who plays the long game. They wait, they watch, they plan, and they do it so quietly you won't even know you were targeted until it's too late. What is the patient predator? The patient predator is the coldest, most calculating type of enemy you can face. They don't just want to hurt you in the moment. They want to erase you from the picture, permanently. Here's what makes them so terrifying. They build trust over time. They craft a flawless mask of normalcy. They never rush. While you're living your life, they're gathering information. While you're laughing at their jokes, they're watching your patterns. While you're letting your guard down, they're setting the trap. Example, Daniel's story. Let me share a story that still haunts me. Daniel worked at a small tech startup. One of his co-workers, Nate, was polite, dependable, and always helpful. Nate wasn't flashy. He was the quiet one in the room. the guy everyone liked but didn't know too well. Over time, Nate became Daniel's go-to support. He helped Daniel prep for big meetings, remembered his coffee order, and even fed Daniel's cat when he went on vacation. Daniel trusted him completely. But here's what Daniel didn't see. Nate was systematically positioning himself to replace Daniel. He kept a record of Daniel's mistakes, no matter how minor. He watched for moments when Daniel was overwhelmed and offered to help, while quietly making sure leadership knew about the slip-ups. He asked about Daniel's travel plans, his late nights at the office, his deadlines. And then, right before a major promotion decision, Nate made his move. He accidentally forwarded a chain of emails showing Daniel's missed deadlines. He reluctantly told the boss about Daniel's growing stress. He casually mentioned that Daniel was thinking of leaving the company. By the time Daniel realized what was happening, Nate had the promotion and Daniel was out the door. Why this works and why it's so dangerous. The reason the patient predator is so dangerous is because they look harmless. They are often polite, helpful, loyal. But here's the trick. They are gathering data, not building friendship. They are waiting for you to make one mistake, one slip, one vulnerable move, and then they strike. It's not what they do that shocks you, it's how long they waited to do it. The Stoic perspective. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, were incredibly clear on this point. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond that matters. The Stoics taught that we must live with open eyes, not in fear but in awareness. They understood that not every threat is obvious. Sometimes danger hides behind charm. Marcus Aurelius advised, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In other words, know who you are, stay grounded, and be prepared for anything. How to spot the patient predator. So how can you spot this person before they strike? Look for these patterns. They ask a lot of questions about your plans, your schedule, your weaknesses. They accelerate closeness without a clear reason. They collect favors and secrets but share little of their own. They remember your mistakes, even the small ones, and bring them up at just the wrong time. They wait for your guard to drop, and when it does, they capitalize. If you're thinking, wait, I know someone like that, listen to that instinct. How to respond. Practical steps. Here's what you can do if you suspect someone is a patient predator in your life. 1. Slow down the relationship. You don't need to cut them off dramatically. Just create a little space and watch how they react. 2. Protect your plans and boundaries. You don't owe everyone access to your calendar, your struggles, or your fears. 3. Observe their pattern of behavior. Are they lifting you up or just waiting for you to fall? 4. Strengthen your core circle. Make sure the people you truly trust know what's going on in your life, so no one else can control your narrative. 5. Prepare. Don't panic. If you sense something is off, don't go into drama mode. Quietly prepare, document, and adjust your boundaries. A personal reflection. I'll be honest with you, this sign hits home for me. I once trusted someone who played the long game. They weren't just waiting to hurt me, they were waiting to replace me, to break me down slowly, and by the time I saw it, they'd already done a lot of damage. What I learned from that experience is this: never confuse consistency for loyalty, never confuse charm for safety, and never confuse help for harmlessness. Inspiration from the Stoics. The Stoics remind us, stay calm in the face of challenge. Keep your eyes open, even when things seem peaceful. Guard your peace without shutting down your heart. Seneca said the whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. Live wisely, live well, but don't live blind. Closing words for sign 5. So as we wrap up sign 5, the patient predator, here's what I want you to take away. The scariest people are not the ones who shout. They're the ones who wait, who watch, who plan. But you have the power to protect yourself, not by living in fear, but by living with awareness. Now, not by shutting everyone out, but by knowing who deserves to be let in. In our next video, we're going to bring all 5 signs together and talk about how to build an unshakable mindset using Stoic principles. So stay tuned for that. And hey, if this video sparked a memory, a suspicion, or just gave you a gut check, don't ignore it. Your instincts exist for a reason. And there you have it, the 5 signs that someone doesn't just hate you. They might actually want you out of their life for good. Let's quickly recap. 1. The silent observer, the one who studies you quietly, tracking your every move. 2. The saboteur strategy, the one who works behind the scenes, whispering doubt into the ears of those around you. 3. The false friend facade, the one who rushes into your life acting like your closest ally just to collect your secrets. 4. Escalating aggression, the one who tests your limits, pushing a little further each time to see how much you'll tolerate. 5. The patient predator, the one who plays the long game, biding their time until the moment is just right. Now I know, this isn't an easy topic. It's uncomfortable, it's heavy, but here's why it matters. Awareness is power. The goal of this video isn't to make you paranoid. It's to help you tune into your instincts, to notice the patterns that so often go ignored, and to remind you that you have the right and the responsibility to protect your peace. The Stoics taught us that true wisdom is about clear observation followed by decisive action. So take what resonated with you today, reflect on it, and apply it where it fits in your own life. And if you found this video helpful, or if it gave you something to think about, I'd be so grateful if you'd give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. Share your thoughts, share your stories, or even just let me know which sign stood out to you the most. I read every comment, and your insights help this channel become a space for real conversation and growth. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Stay sharp, stay kind, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.